In this episode, we're going to talk about 6 possible reasons that Christian guys aren't asking you out. Hey everybody, I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com, a place where we apply the Bible to real life. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. We're brand new on YouTube, so I'd love for you to join our growing community. So in this episode, we're talking directly to the ladies. And the first thing I want to say is that if you are single and you'd like to be married, you definitely don't want to assume it's your fault. The point of this video is definitely not to say that if you don't have someone in your life that you'd like to be with, that you're doing something wrong. However, I do think it would be irresponsible for us not to analyze our own lives and take responsibility for any things that we may be doing that might be hindering God from blessing us with the things that we want in life. Now, when we're going over these 6 reasons, they're definitely not going to all apply to you. All right, but here we go. Number 1, if guys aren't asking you out, it might actually be the type of guys you're hanging around. So the first thing you want to look at is, are you hanging around wimpy, passive men who don't have the courage to ask any girl out, let alone yourself? I definitely don't think it's wrong for a woman to make the first move or to even pursue a guy to some degree. I have another video all about that topic, but in general, I do believe a guy should take the initiative and start pursuing a girl, because that's going to be a good indicator that he's going to be a good leader in the marriage. God has called husbands and wives to equally important roles in the marriage, but he has called husbands to lead. So it's a good indicator that if a man pursues you and initiates the relationship, that he'll be a good leader in the marriage. So if there's guys around you who just aren't asking you out, they might just be too passive. They might just not be a strong candidate for a husband one day. So while it's kind of their fault that, you're not getting asked out, we all have to take responsibility for our lives. And even though it might be the guy's fault to some degree who are in your circle of influence, it's more your responsibility to place yourself around the type of guys who have courage to ask girls out. For example, it says in Proverbs 13:4, "The sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied." In other words, you can sit around and complain about the people in your life, how they're just too wimpy and too passive, but a diligent person will do what's necessary to, accomplish the goals that they have in their life. And the same applies to relationships. Maybe you need to get around a new circle of guys. Maybe you need to go to another church's young adult ministry, or maybe visit some other friends who know some other guys. Get out there and meet different guys if the guys in your life are just too passive. Point 2, guys aren't going to ask you out if you mother them. Okay, so a Christian woman has the capability to be so many different things. She can be a business leader. She can be a leader in the church. She can be a wife. She can be a mother. She can be all these amazing different types of people in her life. She can play all these different roles. But the problem occurs when one role interferes with another role. In other words, if you take your motherly instincts and bring them into a relationship with an adult man, it's a huge turnoff. Now, maybe you're just a really sweet person, so I'm not saying change your personality. What I am saying is that guys aren't attracted to girls who coddle them or, just make them feel like a little boy. Some guys like to be around you as a friend because you're going to take care of them and you're going to, kind of nurture them, but they're not going to be attracted to you in a romantic way. And lastly, on this point, if you do get a guy to like you by mothering him, you're in for a world of hurt. You don't want to be around a guy who wants to be mothered. You want to be around a strong leader. Point 3, another huge mistake I often see girls making is that they send the friend vibe way too hard around the Christian guys in their life. Now, there's nothing wrong if you're sending the friend vibe to guys that you really aren't interested in and you don't want to date them, then by all means, make it very clear you just want to be friends. But if you actually do like somebody, I know it's tempting to just try to play it cool and just, act like everything's normal, treat them like everybody else because you don't want to tip your hand, you don't want to embarrass yourself around them. But it's honestly better to treat them differently than you would your other guy friends, because if you treat him like you do everybody else, he's not going to really know that you like him. Now, I'm not saying you have to come out and say, hey, I like you, ask me out. You don't have to pursue the guy. But if you're only sending him the friend vibe, he's probably not going to have that extra motivation that, hey, maybe she likes me, maybe I have a chance with her. So if you want guys to ask you out, you have to learn how to send them, a vibe that you're actually interested in. Treat a guy that you see potential in differently than you would other guys in your life. Point 4, if you don't like masculinity, you're probably going to be scaring guys off. This is a huge topic. I've actually written about this on my blog at ApplyGodsWord.com, so I'll leave a link in the description of this video for more on this point. But it's basically this. Feminism has done a lot of good for women. Over the course of history, it is a clear fact that women have been extremely abused and disrespected by men. So the feminist movement has done amazing things for women. Without women speaking up and rebelling against bad leadership and against men and just fighting for their right to make choices on their own and to be leaders themselves, many women would not have the rights they have today. The problem happens when feminism not only starts fighting for the rights of women, they start fighting to bring men down and to attack men. So if your feminism has turned in towards a hatred towards men, it's not going to be a surprise that guys aren't really that attracted to you. Guys are masculine. And while that doesn't mean they should be disrespectful by any means, masculinity doesn't equate to disrespect towards women. True masculinity respects women and loves women and tries to value and give them all the opportunities men have. But overall, my point is, if you have an underlying tension towards men because of the abuses that have happened over history, maybe in your life, that's going to be picked up by the men in your life. I think that modern women are kind of at this crossroads and they're conflicted within themselves. They've been asking men to act more like women for a long time. They don't like the masculine part of them. But then they're complaining about guys not being, having initiative and asking them out. On one hand, they want them to be passive and they don't want them to lead. But then on the other hand, they're complaining about not getting asked out. So you can't have it both ways. For example, in Proverbs 14:4, it says, "Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox." In other words, sometimes there's some fallout for good. In other words, if you want a man, you're going to have to deal with the messiness of masculinity. Guys aren't perfect. They're going to screw up and they're going to go too far in their leadership and blah, blah, blah. They're going to make mistakes. But if you want a man, you're going to have to put up with their learning curve and them learning how to be more like Christ if you want a man at all. Lastly, Christian guys, like all guys, are visually wired. So if you're not paying attention to your appearance at all, that could be a reason guys aren't asking you out. Now, before you blast me in the comment section, just know that I would give this same exact advice to men, okay? Humans are visually wired. So if a guy's not taking care of himself and he's not, taking care of his appearance to some degree, I would give him the exact same advice. You might be still single because you're not taking care of yourself. So I'm not, just saying women have a greater responsibility to look a certain way. It falls on both sides. Here's the thing. God made human attraction a real thing. Like, it's not a bad thing. Humans are attracted to one another in physical ways. Just read the Song of Solomon and you're going to read all about physical attraction between a woman and a man. So it's something to consider. It's definitely not the main factor in you getting a guy, but if your appearance could be improved, or you're just not taking care of yourself, or maybe you're just living an unhealthy lifestyle, you're disheveled, you're stinky, whatever, those things are definitely going to affect your relationships. Alright, well, this is actually a huge topic, and I've written an article on this same topic. 6 reasons guys may not be asking you out. I'll leave a link in the description of this video if you want more details on these points that I went through. The article is a lot clearer with a lot more Bible verses, and sometimes it's just easier to tackle a big topic like this in writing. So I encourage you to check that out. Last but not least, if you want more information on Christian singleness, you can check out my book, The Ultimate Guide to Christian Singleness. It's in paperback, as you can see, which is available on Amazon. But I also give this book away for free in an ebook version. I'll also leave a link in the description of this video for that as well. Well, thanks for watching, and God bless.